What's poppin', everyone? This is your boy Des the King, and we back yet again with another episode of King Talk TV. Today I have a very special guest located out here in Colorado Springs by the name of Johnny Bravo. I don't know if y'all remember Johnny Bravo, but that was one of my favorite cartoons growing up. But he's a philosopher, tattoo artist, has a lot of things going on. So we're just gonna pick his brain and hopefully have a fruitful discussion about happiness, about life, about just doing good for society. So we're gonna get into it in a moment. Again, this is your boy Des the King. This is King Talk TV. I do this show weekly, live here on Instagram. If you're watching this on YouTube, please follow me on Instagram so you can join us live, and maybe I can even have you on as a guest. If you're watching this again, please subscribe, like, comment, do all that, and help support your boy. And without further ado, well, I'm gonna give a little more introduction of my boy Johnny Bravo. He's a self-proclaimed student of philosophy, tattoo artist out here in Colorado, studier of psychology, sociology, religious topics. He's a father, and he's been tattooing for over 13 years. So that's just a basic overview. This will be my first time actually seeing him and meeting him, and we're going to discuss things deep. Today's episode is going to be a little different. We're going to discuss deep topics regarding philosophy, religion, and other things. But it should be fun. It should be great, and I hope you enjoy. So stay tuned, and I'm gonna bring him on right now. Big dog, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, dude? How are you?
Bro, it's good to meet you, dog. It's good to meet
Hey,
you. How you doing?
doing great. Thank you.
No, thank you, man. Thank you for taking time out your busy day. I know you being a tattoo artist. I know people are always hitting you up about tattoos, man. Tell me about that real quick. How is your tattoo schedule? Like, are you always busy, or how does that go?
Uh, yeah, it kind of depends. It depends on the place. Like if I'm in Vegas or tattooing in Junction or tattooing out here, it kind of just fluctuates with the population. I prefer cities, obviously, for that money. But realistically, lately, I've just been chilling, doing my thing. Kind of out here, it's been more questions than business, I guess. But it
Right.
just comes with the territory. Small towns, they want the big tattoos, but they just don't really know how to commit to it. You know what I mean? So
Exactly, bro. So where are you based out of?
right now I'm in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. It's a small town south. Kind of, I don't really know the exact population or anything like that, but I moved out here about a year and a half ago, like right when the COVID whole panic peaked and whatnot. My mom lives out
Yeah,
here. Just been kind of like taking care of her and her boyfriend and stuff, and that's it. But
I feel you, man. That's all. So do you have your own shop? Do you travel? Like,
um,
how do
yeah,
or both?
yeah,
So you have
no,
your own
totally.
shop and you travel.
Uh-huh. Well, like, so
Okay.
I owned my own studio for a while, and then I ended up selling that and just kind of like I tattoo out of home now. I just could pretty much go to the clients. I actually kind of learned that from this tattooist who's French. He was an immigrant. His name is Lil B Tattoos. But yeah, man, he sees the world, and like that was just so appealing to me. And he doesn't belong to any studio or have like one tie. I'm not opposed to it, but the whole thing is like I guess like building my dreams instead of helping somebody else build theirs kind of attitude was really appealing to me. So if I do ever go to a studio, it's usually a collective. So we all kind of are part owners or whatever it would be.
Cool, man. That's really cool, bro. Another thing about you. This is about you, man. I just want to pick your brain today.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
what what got you into tattooing? When you break tattooing down, it's kind of brutal,
Yeah,
because you got a needle
yeah,
and you're jamming it in someone's skin thousands of times per
yeah,
minute,
for real.
and the result of that is permanently damaging their skin,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
forever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I know thousands of tattoo is not anything new. Thousands of years ago, before we had the specific
Mhm. No, you're
the
good.
guns that we have today,
Mhm.
they would just kind of like chisel in on the
Yep.
skin already.
Yep.
So my question to you, bro, what got you into tattooing and how does it fulfill you?
So that's kind of an interesting question for sure. So like I ended up getting into it because of my mother. She started like she had collected like a few tattoos, you know, like in her younger, more rebellious days and whatnot. But it was pretty much like where it starts for me is where it starts with art for me. Like tattooing is just one facet of art, I guess, or an expression thereof. But realistically, like my mom kind of helped push the envelope, but support it. She didn't like force it on me or anything like that. She just let me create. And it just so happened that like one day my medium kind of evolved from like pencil and paper to scan. And actually I was really young and I don't recommend this for anybody, but like I was 14 years old when I started tattooing. And then
Oh
I
wow.
took my apprenticeship in this kind of illegal situation, but at 16, no, I was like 17. I was 17 to 19 is when I did it, but it was like just the end of 16, you know? So that's just where it
So
started for me.
so some crazy person let a 15-year-old tattoo on him for the first time.
Yeah.
Tell me about that real quick. Who was the person
Um,
who did that?
it was more like people, but hey, it was my friends and
People.
family, you know what I mean?
Right.
I have to
Yeah.
give love and credit to them because like I think my mom's the only person I know of that she's collected my work from like I was actually it's crazy. I was just talking about this to an old friend of mine, but she's collected it from like almost day one all the way to like now. So like when you look at my mom's tattoos, you see like this timeline of my career and it's super crazy, but I don't know. I love it and she loves it, so it's
So
pretty
your
interesting.
mom's a tattoo artist.
No, she was just an artist. She was a charcoal artist mostly. So she worked with like charcoal as her medium and large canvas work. Like she mostly did fantasy stuff like dragons and wizards and whatnot. And then that just, I don't know, as a kid, like it was just so inspiring. Like I just wanted to do it too, you know? And I kept asking her to draw stuff for me. And then one day she was like, why don't you draw it yourself? And I was like, oh yeah, huh? So it just started there, man, and then it just kind of escalated into tattooing. That was the next like more extreme level I guess I could go. But
Fascinating, man.
yeah.
Fascinating. I know tattooing in itself is such an old art, and what's fascinating about it, man, it's just you know it's a lucrative business because it's been around for thousands of years,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Thousands
Yeah.
of years.
Yeah. They
And
used to do it for medical reasons.
really,
Yeah.
tell me, give me an example of a medical reason you would need a tattoo, bro.
So like you know how like I'm sure it's like in the MMA or like just in any kind of martial arts sports training, you would get an injury, right? So like if you hurt your shin, you would want to draw more blood to that area because it helps that area heal. So what they did, like when they found, I can't remember what his name is, but that frozen, it's like the oldest found frozen person in the world or something like that, out in
Oh, okay.
Antarctica. Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought you were talking about the Willie Mammoth, but
No,
go ahead, bro.
no,
Go ahead.
no. I mean, I could tattoo a woolly mammoth, but no. The whole thing was like this dude had like marks on his wrist and his elbows, and like they were like, well, "Why does he have tattoos?" Well, they did these X-rays and they found out he had like arthritis in those areas. So they were tattooing basically to attract white blood cells and red blood cells to the area that would help heal the affected or the wounded. You know, so that's kind of like where it
Really?
really began. Yeah.
That is so interesting. I did not know that. See, when the only reason that I could think of to use a tattoo like that would be there are people out here with no eyebrows. You know, they just couldn't get an eyebrow. I think I
Yeah.
saw a lady get tattooed eyebrows like in so she could have, eyebrows. So
Yeah.
I guess that's a
Yep.
more of a practical use of
Yeah.
tattoos other than showing you body. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, bro, I got three tattoos and I kind of regret having them all of them, bro, because
Yeah.
it's not that I hate tattoos.
Hmm.
It's just it kind of distracts from your natural skin. Do you think I mean, I see your tattoos and I know you probably love what's the tattoo that you don't like on you?
My
What
well,
was
actually, it's not. I guess it's not so much that I don't like, but it's like the face stuff. It profiles me in a way. So it's like when I,
Gotcha.
say if I'm like speeding or whatever, and I get pulled over, they're just like, they instantly jump to a conclusion. And it kind of sucks, you know what I mean? Especially like, because as a kid, I'm not going to lie, man, like I did get in trouble. I had my whole rebellious phase, whatever. But the
Yeah.
older I've gotten, it's just kind of like it's one of those things. And I'm just like, why, But I get it because like I kind of asked for it by getting my face this tattooed. I loved it. But now my daughter and me, we fight over that a lot, because I'm still I want to get them lasered. But she's like, no, because it's like the only way she's known me. So she doesn't want me to get them removed. But I miss my face. You know what I mean? I'm a handsome dude. So.
Correct, man. That you are, bro. That you are, man.
You
And
was what, dog?
the tattoos added to the level of handsomeness, bro. So I'm with you, man. But what you said about being profiled. I remember you said you're about 30 years old, right?
Yep, I am 30.
So not too long ago, bro, tattoos, and I think not so much today, but not too long ago, tattoos were seen as kind of like you said, when you have tattoos, people will kind of look at you differently.
Yeah.
And there was a point in time that, you couldn't get a job with tattoos in certain places. And I know, and I think still to this day, you can't get into the military. Like as you are now, they will not allow you in the military.
No way. Yeah, no way.
But in most places now, I notice in restaurants or even some higher up places, people are working with full sleeve tattoos now. Yeah. So the perception of having tattoos is definitely not the same as it was just 10 years ago,
Yeah. That's for real. Yeah. I mean, I think it was like some NASA rocket scientist kind of helped propel the culture forward. He came out with like 2 full sleeves and a short sleeve shirt one day on like national television, and people were just like losing their minds. But at the same time, it helped people like him and kind of that had that more celebrity status, I guess you would call it, helped propel it forward. I mean, we saw like Angelina Jolie, different actors or whatever do it. But realistically for me, it was like, I think like, I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. I never banked on making money with it or anything. I kind of knew it was like gonna be a dead end thing, or I felt like it anyways. But
really?
Wow, was I wrong? Yeah, I mean, it just like it got pop culture fast, and like next thing you know, we're seeing like MMA fighters, we're seeing boxers, we're seeing cops, we're seeing judges. I mean, it was like, whoa, this is really cool because it's something that kind of puts us all on an even playing field, And life really changed for me and got real when I actually ended up tattooing that I think he was a sheriff who was at the Las Vegas shooting. He was the guy running in and out and rescuing a bunch of people, and I tattooed him. And like, this is after the fact, and I'm just sitting there the whole time like, this is a person getting a tattoo. Like, I just felt so like humbled, but like also I guess motivated and inspired, to keep going with the culture and stick with it and just see what it would become in the next 10 years. I've been tattooing for like 13, 14 years or something like that. So it's been crazy.
That's great, man. A lot of what I believe, prepared the culture are the tattoo reality shows. Did you ever watch Miami Ink?
I mean, I did like in an early phase, I guess, but I'm not going to lie, man, and I hate to blow the whistle on it, but a lot of that stuff is shenanigans,
Oh,
it's dramatized and whatnot, but like a lot of it's like false. Like they put some unrealistic time strains, on people, but maybe it'll change in the future because it's more exposed, I guess. There's more of a magnifying glass on it, so who knows? But
I don't know if you remember this song by a group named D4L. Tat, 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 tat. Yeah. That is the reason why I got a tattoo, bro.
Oh man, that's so cool.
I got my first tattoo right here because of that song, man. Because of that. That's the only reason why.
That's so right, bro. Hell yeah,
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
No, I was listening to you. I was just saying,
I would have never got one if it wasn't for that, man. And I find that fascinating as well, how easily people can be influenced. I chose to permanently damage my skin over a song that I heard. You know what I mean? And that's why I think like you said, the reality shows are all shenanigans. They have to add the drama and all that to it to draw people in.
Yeah.
But just as it being a tattoo show itself, I'm sure it played a role in probably the increase normalizing of people having tattoos
Exactly.
and, neck, hands, and everything.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff, bro. Awesome
Yeah.
stuff. Just want to dive in a little bit more deeper, man, and ask you this question. What is the meaning of life to Johnny Bravo?
The meaning of life, I think, changes with my life. Like, I guess if I could sum it up in a term or like a philosophy, it would be like kind of it's existential, it's to kind of like focus or think about your life in the moment. You know what I mean? Like, what is it, and does it come and go, or does it stay? Because there are some values or traditional values, if you will, that I maintain and still hold to from being a child, such as like my mom and my dad and being close or understanding the concept of forgiveness, um, or mercy, but also with that comes, there's a time and a place for it, you know. It can't, at least in my view, I can't just be that way all the time with everything. I have to adapt and improvise. That would be like my whole meaning of life, is to adapt and improvise with every given situation. Or adhere to, I guess, would be another way.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you saying that the meaning of life to you is kind of just to roll with the punches, to go with the flow?
Yeah. Not so much go with the flow, but to accept all the good for what it is, just be more objective, I guess. Kind of like that, well, I'm sure we'll get into that, but the objectivist epistemology is to accept things for how they are, try and find the value in it, and if it applies to you, maintain. If it doesn't, then forfeit it, because it should be like a hierarchy of values. To me, to get to the end of my life and to have the meaning of my life summed up, I would hope that it was, not so much how people look at me, but how I dealt with my own life, you know.
Okay, fascinating, bro.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So where do goals fit in your life? I know
Mandatory.
you have, based on what you just said, life, accept the good with the bad. Things are going to happen. We just have to accept people for who they are. You know what I mean? And I agree with you on that part.
Somewhat. Yeah.
What, right, right. So when it comes to what you have planned, I guess, in your life,
Mm-hmm.
how do you prioritize that with what life brings? Do you, if you have a goal and something in life happens that kind of deters you or whatever, do you change? Do you adjust your goal, or do you say, no, this is my goal, I'm going to stick to that to the end?
I guess an easy way to explain it would be like I have a hierarchy of values, right?
Okay.
So like, say in this season of my life, because I believe like there's seasons for everything, but
Mhm.
if I could go back in time, it's like teaching my younger, more rebellious self. If I could talk to him, I don't think even I would get the point back then. Like, hey, someday you're gonna value your mother and you'll value being a father and you'll value these things. Maybe not right now. I'd be like, no, you're get out of here. You know what I mean? I hate my mom. I'm a deadbeat dad, whatever. But the older I get, the more those things become very important to me, right? So I know that life can change. By now I'm 30. I've lived probably like a third of my life on, hopefully if I live to be 90, we'll see. But it's one of
Right.
those things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like my hierarchy of values changes, but I guess if there's one thing it's always been like primarily a source value, would be to like seek to understand. And so it's like I'm always going to have, I guess, more of a, I try and see both sides of the fence kind of thing. But with that said, there's a right and a wrong. We don't have a moral compass or a conscience for no reason. Whether you believe in evolution or evolutionary biology, or you believe in religion of some sort, but we don't have that conscience for no reason. And that's one thing that I really try and like, gosh, especially the older I get, I try and manifest it more and more and tap into it more and more, feel out a situation more and more, listen more and more, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I mean, I guess it's always just been love at the heart of it rather than fear. But I'll still say that I'm afraid of a lot of things. you know, and that's okay too. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to have a good day. Stuff like that.
That's great, man. Great.
Right.
You said that you have a hierarchy of values.
Mhm.
What is the number one value that you have out of that hierarchy? Because a hierarchy is, correct me if I'm wrong, you know, you like a pyramid. You have your workers at the bottom, and then you have the supervisors and managers, and then you
Exactly.
have the CEO of the company.
Yeah.
So, well, let's start from the bottom then. Let's start from the bottom.
Yeah.
What is your floor foundational value?
So like what that would be, I guess, like a goal to get there, or what am I doing to manifest that? So like at this point in time in my life, it would be like my day-to-day actions. If they don't, if they don't ultimately get me to that pinnacle, then I'll disregard, you know, and I try and keep that in mind, although I have days where it completely slips and I just falter completely. But then I'll pick it back up and I'll adhere to it for a sustained amount of time. So typically it's just like the day-to-day actions of whatever it may be. But my hierarchy of values, as far as like the peak, always has to do with, at least the older I get, it has to just do with, say, like being a good father. And what does that mean to me? You know, do I contact my daughter every day? Or not every day, but at least talk to her, because she's a teenager now. You know how it goes. So it's
Yeah,
like, dang, you know, I've already dealt with that rebelliousness from her. But I think about in that hierarchy, like the base is like, don't lose your cool with her. You were a teenager too. You know, something simple like that. You know, just think
great.
about the past or think about what could get me there.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, about what you said a few minutes ago, in regards to you are human beings having a consciousness,
Yeah.
right? And you believe that all humans have a conscience, correct?
Well,
Um,
yeah, somewhat.
go okay, okay.
Yeah.
Well, somewhat okay. Well, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
if if all humans if all humans have a consciousness, um, is that consciousness did that consciousness evolve over millions of years? Is that how, and that's how we got to the consciousness we have today, or was it given to us individually at birth, and we just all just have our own unique, I guess, consciousness, or did consciousness just
Yeah.
evolve over time? Is that how you believe
You
it
know,
happened?
from the hours that I've put in, or whatever you want to call it, to just looking into stuff like that, that's a very like existential question, you know, and I guess it demands from us the answer of how we personally adhere to it. So it's like I can discuss non-religious points with somebody who is religious, and religious points with somebody who isn't religious. And like I said earlier, is I do try and stand on both sides of the fence. And I know that to some people that can seem wishy-washy, or I'm uncommitted, or a kind of a free player, or whatever you want to call it. But me personally, I believe the answer is actually whatever we. I don't think that we per se breed it into ourselves. And I do think there is a hit and miss to it. It's like John Wayne Gacy or some serial killer anybody can mention. Well, they didn't have a conscience, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that. It could mean that maybe they just never tapped into it. Maybe they just never really got into that potential, because deep down, we know so little about the human body, so little. And it's like we see these guys. I can't remember his name, but there's like a guy who climbs Mount Everest in his shorts. But you're going to hear more about the guys who did it with oxygen tanks and the full gear, and they did it with camping sets. And there's a guy out there who literally does it several times back and forth and teaches students how to do it. So it's like, I mean, these people are tapping into some stuff inside of ourselves that we're not fully aware of, or maybe we were at one time and now we're not. But the truth is that whatever it is to that person, because I know there was a time when I was a kid, it would be questionable if I had a conscience or not, because I was just such a dummy with stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, here I am, and I know that I have a lot of empathy. Sometimes I feel too deeply, and it can affect me, like personally, that's in a bad way, not a good way. And so I think at a time in my life, at least for me, when I was a kid, I learned how to like dumb that down a little so I didn't feel so heavy. But the older I get, I can handle that. You know, I can conserve empathy or I can surrender empathy or vice versa. But when it comes to the human conscience being in our brain, I don't have the answers on why exactly it's there or how it developed. I just know it's like a tool and it should be used. It's almost a mandatory thing, but it doesn't happen sometimes. People miss that mark.
Excellent, man. Uh, excellent explanation of that. Do you believe in God?
Yes, but more as a, I guess more as like a verb would be a better way to say it, you know? For me personally, I was a practicing Jew for a long time, and then I was a practicing Christian for a long time. What brought me out of it is more or less the seeking of knowledge. And what is God to me, or Yahweh, or however you want to say it? Um, I think that religion is like it's an earlier form of philosophy. And I'm not saying this to change anybody's mind. I want to say that right now.
No.
I actually,
Speak.
yeah, I have a friend whose daughter, and he struggles with it really bad. And she's like my niece. And she pulled me over late one night and she was like, "Hey, Uncle
Real
Johnny,
quick, not to cut you off, bro. What is he struggling with again?
religion." Just
Okay.
the belief in God, I guess, would be a better way to say it. But
Oh,
she pulled me over, and she's only 10 years old. She's 2 years shy of my daughter. And I told her, I said, well, because her grandparents get on her a lot about that, and they're kind of more aggressive. And I said, well, here's the deal. I'm not going to tell you what to believe and what not to, but I would say if I were you, I would believe. Because at the end of the day, even if all religion's wrong, what's the point in arguing with it? One, because it's not there to institute destruction and chaos. Quite the opposite. Religion of any, well, not any form, but we'll say Christianity or the Judeo-Christian beliefs,
yes.
they adhere specifically to tapping into your conscience. Specifically. I mean, it's meant to build yourself up, your mind, your heart, your body, conserve yourself, preserve yourself, exert yourself in all the right ways. So I can't say any of that is wrong. And if the creator had really given us life, who are we to challenge that? I mean, there's nothing wrong with anything found in there. I mean, it's all fundamentally right. So it's like I kind of helped explain that to her. She's actually a very bright girl, and you could see like the relief on her face. Like she didn't really have to toy with it after that. Because I'm not going to tell her, oh no, let's go study philosophy instead. I mean, what kid wants to do that, for one? But two, that's more destructive. I'm taking something from you. That's wrong. Just like something could be taken from me. I don't want that. I want
Right.
what I have. You know what I mean? Self-sustaining and self-generating. So
Right. Right. Excellent. We don't want to, as far as the little girl goes, we don't want to
corrupt.
we could be thinking, some people think they're so deep thinkers, and they can just help anybody, but sometimes, man, we just need to allow, especially children, we need to allow them to grow. Not saying that they're children, as far as I believe, let me know if you agree with this or not. I don't believe children are always capable of making every decision on their own. They do need some type of guidance. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Especially when it comes to the manipulation of their bodies.
Yeah.
They need to understand. They need to grow more. And then as they grow up, that's when they can, make their own decisions on it.
Yeah.
But I do find it fascinating that that you approached it that way and just left her room to, decide for herself and not try to be so dogmatic about, the beliefs.
Absolutely.
So that is great, sir. Did you have anything else to say on that, bro?
I guess kind of like a short way to look at it. I'm somebody who could describe it much better if anybody's interested in seeking out that kind of information. I know Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, he can be somewhat of a controversial figure if anybody knows who he is. He's also a Christian, and he's a clinical psychologist. So, I mean, right there, that guy, he just nails it. And that's somebody who I watch avidly, like probably more than anybody else besides Alan Watts, or read, Ayn Rand. But Dr. Jordan B. Peterson is incredible. He does it all the way from child psychology to adult psychology, but he doesn't really implement any kind of Christian beliefs, except if you don't have to take it away. It's that he can include it in such a way that it makes it understandable for most people to comprehend and really grasp without feeling violated, or that they're being, told what to believe or not believe in one way or another. But yeah,
You have to, after the interview, you have to send me more information on it.
Yeah, for sure.
And speaking on Ayn Rand, I asked you to refer me a book, and you sent me The Virtue of Selfishness, which was it was a great book, man. And I learned in college, my major was philosophy.
Oh, okay, that's awesome, man. That's
cool. And I never heard of Ayn Rand, but I have heard of Atlas Shrugged. I heard of that book.
Yeah.
Did you read Atlas Shrugged?
Of course, yeah. Amazing.
Okay. That's the next book I got to read after this book. And she has another one too.
She's got. I mean, the thing about Rand was that she wrote like story format, but used her philosophy, and then she wrote philosophical, literature. Yeah. So you had The Fountainhead, Anthem. Yep. That was the first one that I read as far as her story stuff, and freaking incredible. Both those books, Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead, super long reads, but if you can smash like 1,000-page book pretty efficiently, it'll go by quick, because it's in it, like it wakes up something in you. You know what I mean? They're cool, man.
Yeah. Really. The Virtue of Selfishness took me 6 hours to read total, but it was a great book, man, and I'm happy you put me on it. Yeah. And I learned different philosophical terms that I haven't heard in my life. One being objectivism, which I want to talk about for a little bit, and then also altruism, and collectivism, were the two things that I remember.
Yeah,
and I don't want to get off into a tangent, but I do want to talk about collectivism real quick. Collectivism, correct me if I'm wrong, bro, is the belief that the group matters more than the individual.
Exactly. It's what stems socialism, communism, roughly things like that, or collectivism, or versions thereof, or products, I should say, thereof.
So communism, socialism branch from collectivism. That is the root of those forms of government.
Yeah, basically like these people would make a decision for everybody involved rather than the individual having any kind of say so, or natural property rights, or etc. Right.
And it's such a self-contradictory belief, because like you said, it's individuals making a collective decision that's supposed to be based off the whole group, so you are an individual making a decision for the whole group, which kind of like, do you see what I'm saying? Kind of defeats the whole purpose.
Actually, it's like what Miss Rand says. I think there's something in the Objectivist, but she says something to do with like there is no such thing as a contradiction, because one wins and one loses every time, or not a contradiction, a compromise.
Compromise.
So if you think about that, it's like, well, I've compromised healthily. We all have somewhere in our life, but then it's like, well, no, somebody did win and somebody did lose something somewhere along that line, but it's not like a true loss per se every time. But that collectivist stuff is like, if there's a real evil, that's kind of where it starts, and it's sad, but we've seen countries fall. It's never stood the time or stood the test of the times, and it's really a terrifying thing. So
America is slowly inching its way towards that type of mindset.
And it's scary.
It is scary, bro. Yeah. It is scary. Like, I got my passport, bro, and I'm ready to hop out of here if it hits the fan.
I feel you, bro.
That's great stuff, man. Objectivism. So you subscribe to that belief, or to that state of mind.
Some of
Okay.
their values for sure. And I think that's where philosophy started for me, was objectivism.
Does it? Okay. So let me see. I don't want to just read. I have the definition here, but let's just talk about it. Objectivism is the pursuit of a man trying to find happiness through reason. Is that pretty much it? Or am I missing something there?
Yeah, I guess that would be like a pretty loose way of saying it. But what is happiness to the man would have to be like objective, like something that's an unalterable point of reality. You know, so like it is what it is. Like you always hear people say, well, that's either subjective or objective. You know,
Right.
subjective is okay. Subjectivism, I guess, could be okay in certain situations. So like what child means to most human beings is pretty objective. It's the child is cherished, meant to be protected. They're our legacy. That's the future of our species, the survival of our species. All those things are pretty objective. But to one or two guys, that could be subjective, and then that person could be a nihilist or something, and etc. You know.
I'm listening to you, bro. I'm just looking at
Yeah.
the definition here.
I'll give a shout out to Sammy the Bull Fernandez. Love you, dog.
Oh yeah, shout out. Let me see who's on here real quick. I didn't even check. I see Fernandez join. Yeah, he's the one who introduced us, man. He's a great guy. How do you two know each other real quick?
What's that?
I'm listening to you, bro. Just forgive me.
Oh no, you're good. I just couldn't hear you.
Oh, I was just saying, how did you and Fernandez meet?
Oh man, a dark time, that's for sure. We found each other, and we would talk. I mean, when we first met, it was just like instant. We felt like our souls had connected kind of way, you know, and both of us were kind of on the same track. We adhered to a lot of the same values, and it was ultimately bettering our lives and forgiving our past and moving forward. And I mean, been best friends ever since. I mean, that's one of those people you meet. I mean, I couldn't imagine life without him, man. He's really revolutionized my life, and he's allowed me to be more radical in some really awesome ways of thinking and approaching things. Because when you get into a mind of a fighter, it's like the way you guys approach situations. It's like, holy crap, man! Like that's so cool. Like I want to have that same value, and I can apply that same drive to another aspect of my life. So, really, I credit him with a lot of where I'm at today. It's because of him.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know the relationship was that deep, man.
Oh yeah, we're tight.
Y'all tight like that. Okay, that's cool, man. But shout out to Fernandez for hooking us up for this great conversation, bro. All right, so I pulled up Ayn Rand's definition of objectivism, man.
Yeah.
It says here, the concept of man, objectivism is the concept of man as a heroic being with his own happiness as the moral purpose of his life, with productive achievement as his noblest activity, and reason as his only absolute. But this is what I want to talk about with you. The concept of man as an heroic being with his own happiness and moral purpose of life. So to be an objectivist, I don't necessarily have to be religious or anything. I just need to be pursuing a purpose.
Yeah.
Is that essentially it?
Kind of.
Go ahead.
So this is going to be crazy, but check this out. So I'm sure you know by reading that book or that novel, it's a collection of essays, right? But Miss Rand is emphatically an atheist. Like she makes it very known. Yeah. But the irony here is that I actually studied that philosophy and was mentored into it by one of my Jewish elders. And you could practically consider this guy like a master rabbi. He was just insanely proficient with the scripture, and he studied objectivism, and that was the philosophy that he adhered to. And what blew my mind was like he could take everything she said and he could like by proxy cross-reference it into the scriptures.
Really?
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, like, and he could do it in such a way, I guess, in the Christian value would be like a sermon. You know what I mean? And so, like, I was just sitting there, like, every day. I started going as a non-religious person. It was my transition from Christianity to Judaism, because I wanted to be more, I guess, inflicted, or like more, not inflicted, but more proficient with the scriptures and stuff. And I knew that the Jewish ways had a lot of really good memory, and they were always about like studying and understanding every single concept presented forth in the scriptures, etc. So when it was with him, he presented that to me, and I was like, you're making me read somebody's atheist's work. But it made sense because it was man as man should be, or as Miss Rand says, man qua man, right?
Man, well, man.
Yeah, man qua man. So we would be self-sustaining, self-generating, and men of action, and less this daydream, pipe dream, or even blanket treatment. Everybody's, perfectly the same and whatnot, because we're not. We're imperfect beings who have to be perfected through trial and error. And so that's really where Miss Rand understands that, or presents it. And honestly, we don't even have enough time in this to like get into some of the terms she uses. I mean, they go deep, 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 and you can just unfold it and unfold it and unfold it, and it gets really deep.
It does get it. And I find that fascinating that because it seems to me, and let me know if you agree or disagree, but to be an objectivism is kind of almost kind of like being an atheist in a way. Like
oh yeah, I guess I could see what you're saying. Yeah.
Considering the fact that it's just really, she says it's based strictly off reason and man's one-on perception of reality. So you're not really, you're not required to step out of the metaphysical. You want to stay in the metaphysical. You don't focus on things that you can't see, touch.
Yeah.
It's kind of reminds me of an atheist, because the atheist is going to say, when it comes to God, I can't see God. I can't hear him. Where is he? And they're more succumb to physical evidence, science,
Exactly.
So to me, it sounds a bit like atheist, but it threw me off when you said the Jewish rabbi was showing you philosophy about. But I don't disagree necessarily with the philosophy as a whole. I do believe that men need to have purpose.
Yeah.
We need to find out what makes us happy. I want to read this quote to you real quick, bro.
Okay.
And I'm not going to have you on for much longer. But I hope you're enjoying this as much as I'm enjoying.
Oh, of course, man. You're the best.
This is a quote from the book, The Virtue of Selfishness, but it's actually a quote from Atlas Shrugged. There's a guy named Galt, from the book, I think.
John
Galt. Yes. So fictional character, correct. This is a character that she made up. This is a quote from what he said. He said, "Happiness is a state of non-contradictory joy, a joy without penalty or guilt, a joy that does not wish to clash with any of your values and does not work for your own destruction. Happiness is possible only to rational man, the man who desires nothing but rational goals, seeks nothing but rational values, and finds his joy in nothing but rational actions."
Yeah.
So I guess, to me, we can talk forever on this, but what is happiness is different for each person.
See, yeah. I guess that would be like the subjective part of it. So like when Rand speaks of this, we have to understand that her precept is, she comes from a position, she has her own lexicon. If anybody really wants to get deep into this, buy the Ayn Rand lexicon. It's called just that. But so her lexicon, especially like her vernacular when she's communicating, almost every word you said in that sentence has a very like specific objective meaning. So like I could say, well, happiness to me is blowing up the world, and happiness to this guy, right? But no. So like her version, or her lexicon or definition of happiness, you said the non-contradictory part, right? So when Galt's speaking of this, he's saying that if I say that I love you or I love me, that cannot mean anything to do with ignoring conscience, ignoring a hierarchy of values, or violating certain inalienable rights. So like in everybody's born with certain things, like the right to life, the right to prosper, the right, if you want it, go get it kind of thing. But that doesn't mean that your version of inalienable right is to go out and kill a bunch of people, because that contradicts your existence. It contradicts other people's existence. You'd be violating the inalienable rights of somebody else, or property rights. They belong to you. It belongs to me. It belongs to everybody. So we have to take that precept that, like, in a perfect world, everybody would have that value or belief of happiness. And so I would have to live by that. That's kind of her, like, stance, is like, if the world was perfect, this is how you would really want to think and act, not go out there and take some other guy's food and whatnot.
Right. Okay. Well, that kind of clears it up. You said the lexicon is how she goes more deeply in it. Because as I'm reading it, I'm thinking like, well, a pedophile is happy being around children. You know what I mean? So is he objective for that? You know, because he's pursuing his happiness.
Yeah,
to him is rational.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. He's what she would consider a nihilist. Nihilism is extremely dangerous, because that's where that conscience goes out the window. And I mean, I can say that I, without knowing it, was a nihilist for a very long time in my life. I didn't believe that anything mattered, not even my life, not death, I mean, what does it all mean? So instead of asking that question and seeking the answer, nothing mattered. And so it was like, for the sake of destruction doesn't even matter. So who cares? There's no consequences, right? So on one stance, you could say that they have a victory in the sense of, well, nothing matters, so there's no consequences for their actions. So they get the freedom of being idiots, right? But to us, it's like everything matters, and that's a consequence of it. So on that, I can say that I choose, because I'm an individual human being, I choose to shoulder the burden of my own life and all of its chaos, and I accept the consequences for my actions because I choose to live that way. And that's an objective reality, you know?
Right. Man, I just find it weird that she's an atheist. The more I read it, I would think that she would believe in God, because she's so pro-capitalism. You know what I mean? Laissez-faire capitalist. She believes, you know, like you say, property rights. These days, Americans want to take away property rights, you know, and all that. So fascinating stuff, man.
But I think a lot of that has to do too, just to be real quick on it, she was alive back in the 1920s and stuff. So, I mean, it was a whole different way different a concept of capitalism to today. And she came from communist Russia, so.
Yeah, she came from communist Russia. And coming here completely changed her perspective on a lot of things, man. Well, just to switch it up, bro, because I don't want to keep you too long. I do want to ask you this one thing personally. What is something people seem to misunderstand about you?
Oh, man. I would say my biggest fault, whether it's relationships or with friends or acquaintances, is I'm severely misunderstood for being like too logical, I guess. But realistically, I don't mean for it to come off that way. It's that I really just try and think outside the box. It's the way that I designed myself, you know, because when I say self-made, I mean, I really mean that I designed myself, or I attempt to be rational, like exactly the quote that you said. You know, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody, but I want to take a realistic standpoint on life, you know, and that comes across sometimes as being like, I've heard apathetic, I've heard cold, I've heard callous, and I really don't mean to do that in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not going to say that there's some justification to children's cancer or some crazy crap like that. It's just bad things happen to us, and I want to comfort them. So I try and like just be given an objective reality about it, and it just comes off kind of cruel. So I don't mean that.
People, man, people say they want the truth, man, but they really don't. People say they want help, but they really don't want help.
That right there.
And they want to ask for your opinion, and when you give it to them, they're mad that you gave them your opinion. It's a crazy world, man. But I appreciate you for at least trying, you know,
thank you, bro,
to provide some type of value for people, you know. Just a few more questions, bro. What makes you feel inspired, or what is your what are what is your best self? What inspires you to be the best that you can be? And you
Man.
can't say your daughter. You can't say your daughter.
I can't say what now? Say that one more time.
You can't say your daughter.
Oh man, that's a good one actually. That's a really good one. My mind. I've cherished my mind since I was a kid. I've been an intellectual since a child. I've always sought knowledge and wisdom for the sake of knowledge and wisdom and to understand things deeper, and especially human beings. That leads me down that spiral of muses, I guess, in an artistic point of view. I like to romanticize human beings, you know, like I just think that there's so much more to us in the right than there is in the wrong, and people tend to always just see the wrong. So it's like, I think man can do amazing things, and I know man can. So I choose to have faith, and in that faith, I kind of find my own brain always picking things apart, and I'm just like, man, I'm so thankful that I ended up with this thing, because sometimes ignorance is bliss, but I really love to understand compassion and love and mercy and kindness, forgiveness, and also that human beings are allowed to have bad days, you know? It's just part of it, so.
I wish there's more people that are open-minded like you, man. Because you seem like you have your foundation of beliefs, but you are open to listen and to understand.
Yeah.
People are so close-minded, and close-mindedness is not bad all the time. Some things you need to just have a closed mind of, like pedophilia. We should have a closed mind that this is always a terrible thing. But
exactly.
in the times that we live in, you know, even pedophilia is getting a light now. And now it's even that is becoming more okay. You know, everything's not okay. Everything's not okay.
Yeah.
You know, just go ahead, speak, bro. I want you to speak.
Oh, yeah. I was actually going to say, because, you know, you've mentioned that a few times, and something that always pops up when I hear that is, I actually done some research on some crazy stuff like that. And it's interesting because applying to the times we live in now, like you're saying, so many people are too open-minded with too much, and it's actually becoming a closed-off society. It's affecting everybody in a negative way, not really a positive way. Whether they argue biology or they argue religion or whatever it is, it's just like, whoa, you know. But one of the things about pedophilia in particular is we have two types that we need to understand. Most pedophiles don't act because, they'll grow up to say their whole life celibate because they actually know it's wrong. And so they don't act out on hurting a child, right? But then there's these things called predators. And that's what everybody needs to watch out for, because those things are a whole different animal. And that's a sad situation, and people pay for that. I actually, somebody in my immediate family that it was affected by that. And I know it was a predatory situation for a fact. It wasn't the fact that she was a little girl. It wasn't the fact, you know, any of that couldn't have mattered. It was like this guy just did not care. So that's more like, it's like that predatory stuff. And if we go back into our primitive being, that's the thing that we need to watch out for sure. Of course, pedophiles are bad, whatever people want to have their view, but predators are 10 times more dangerous, hands down. So
and you're right. I haven't ever made that distinction, because there is a distinction. They're both behaviors aren't good behaviors.
Yeah, exactly.
But like you said, a pedophile might struggle with that sensation.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he's going to act on this.
Exactly.
But a predator is intentional. He wants to hurt that person. He wants to go after him. Two completely different things.
Yeah.
Two completely different things.
Yeah.
Great stuff, man.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, shoot, bro. That's really all. I had a whole lot more stuff, man, but it's not as structured as I wanted to be. I have to bring you back on to continue it. But I do want to say that I'm happy that you took time out your busy 4th of July to talk some philosophical stuff. We had about 8 people on at one moment, but I guess it got too deep, and it was just like, okay, about it. Time for hot dogs and beer.
Yep.
But great, man. Any question you want to ask me, bro?
Yeah, actually, what in your day to day? I mean, how do you juggle this networking, man? Because networking is my is one of my biggest things that I find attractive in human beings. It's our ability to kind of like produce, procure, and manifest it, and also to socially share it on, I guess, more of a sociological platform. But where do you find the day-to-day to just the time in your day to network like this and promote yourself and other people? I mean,
right. Bro, it's really, social media makes it easy to network. When you're active on social media, you're pretty much networking
for sure,
automatically.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just being intentional with it. So I found Fernandez from interviewing another guy that I trained with. So I did a show with him, and Fernandez hopped on that show, and me and Fernandez became cool. Did a show with Fernandez, and now I'm with you. You know what I mean? So it's just being intentional, and I just want, as far as King Talk TV, I want to have. There's such a lot of junk online, you know, a lot of ignorant crap, especially on Instagram. Every time I open Instagram, I see something in there. There hasn't been a day, you know. So I feel like it's my purpose to provide some value, some intellectual value, specifically amongst men, you know, because I believe, this is not a popular thing I'm about to say, but I believe that men were put here to be leaders of this world. You know, we are the persons, the figures that to lead and to guide. And I'm not saying women are not incapable. No,
You're identifying a purpose. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, because we could say men are the backbone, women are the face. You know,
exactly.
Everything has a purpose. I totally agree with that. I co-sign that 1,000%. It's not putting us above or below. It's putting us, everybody has a purpose kind of thing. So I like that.
And some people would take that as diminishing the opposite sex, man, which is crazy. Women were ordained to have children. That's their purpose, to have children. Not their only purpose. That's just one of the things that comes with being a woman.
Yeah.
Is to have children.
It's very important.
And we can't take that from them as men, you know what I mean? Yeah. But our purpose, on the flip side, is to give that lady the seed to produce that child. Exactly. You know, that's what we were made to do. Yeah. And it's such a simple thing, but these days, you know, oh no, you know, it isn't, because Ayn Rand is against it. Ayn Rand says that that there's just black and white. You know, there is no gray area.
Yeah.
Which I don't necessarily, and let me know if you agree with that or not, but I don't necessarily believe that there is no gray. But there definitely is a black and a white. There is definitely a right and a wrong.
Exactly.
You know? But there is a gray too. Do you believe in a gray, or do you just believe black and white?
Actually, I was going to tell you, like, so I mean, I subscribe to Objectivism, but the older I get and the more I look into life, I become more stoic and existential. And objective would be like my foundation to approach some heavier situations. There is a black and white, like you said. But stoicism and existentialism are like my daily constant tools. Like I would use those 9 out of 10 times for anything. But with those real big situations, and ultimately my foundation would be an objective reality. So, I mean, awesome. I totally agree with you 100%.
Awesome, bro. Awesome. Bro, I'm not going to hold you up much longer, man. Thank you so much for your time today. Before we go, let people know, I'm going to post this on, it's going to be on YouTube, by the way. Hope you don't mind.
But, of course.
But if you don't mind just shouting out, you know, Instagram, you know, ways people can get in contact with you in case they want a tattoo or whatever.
Yeah.
Just let us know what that is.
Okay, so you can get a hold of me, and you can always reach out and like stuff, or if you just want a conversation, I'm usually open to it if I can find the time. Just know I don't ignore my DMs and stuff like that all the time. But you can get a hold of me at Johnny Bravo Tattoos on Instagram. Also, I have a personal profile if you just want. It's just Johnny Bravo. And that one's just kind of my personal life, day-to-day, whatever's going on there. I do have a WhatsApp. I can't remember how to access it, but you can pretty much find me on anything through Facebook. Always Johnny Bravo Tattoos. It is LLC, and I am copyrighted by Art and Intellectual Properties. So it's always going to show up Google search engines and stuff. My website is tattoomejb.square.site. Hopefully I can get a domain soon, so it's just .com. But
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's about the best ways to get a hold of me is those 3 platforms by far.
Bro, man, that's great stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Johnny Bravo, thank you for being a great guest, man.
Thank you,
Be
Dave.
blessed, bro. I'm gonna have you back on soon, bro. Soon.
Okay.
I do want to dive in deeper to this book, and I'm going to read Atlas Shrugged
Do that. Yeah.
before I see you again.
Yeah, do it, man. Hey, thank you, Des. I appreciate you so much. Sammy, love you, bro. Thank you for introducing us. And
Hey, man, you have a good day, man.
You too, brother.
God bless you, bro. Peace, man.
We'll see you.